Hey guys, I'm Liz and today I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to get the iconic flavour of a meat rendang in a few easy simple steps using the new Mei Mei spice mixes. This video is part one of a series of videos aimed at helping you get the traditional Southeast Asian flavours at home using the tips and tricks that I've developed in the Mei Mei kitchen. First up is the meat rendang spice mix, now available at meimei.uk. So spice mixes are a really great way of helping you save time in the kitchen, especially if you're cooking for a family. They're also a really great way of experimenting and getting a little bit of variety in your meals, especially if you like trying out new flavours like me. So what you're going to need is an entire packet of the Mei Mei meat rendang spice mix. Now this is plenty of mix to make enough for 2 big family meals. So if you don't want to use it all at the same time, you don't have to. Or what I usually do is blend the whole spice mix together into a spice paste and then save half of it for later. You can freeze it and it's perfect for when you next want a quick meal. So I'm going to be making a beef rendang. It's my favourite, it's my family's favourite. So what I've got is some beef shin, some boneless beef shin from the guys at Ginger Pig. It's our neighbours at Mei Mei. You also need 200 mils of water, a tin of coconut milk and onions. What you need to do, ideally you have a slightly bigger chopper or a pestle and mortar at home, 200 grams of chopped onions, the whole packet of spice paste, and 200 mils of water. I'm just going to blend that together, or like I said, if you have a pestle and mortar at home, just pound it together until it comes to a smooth paste. I'm just do this in bits because I've got a tiny little chopper with me today. Just put in the chopped onions, some water, and the spice mix all together, and we're going to blend it to a smooth paste. We've added the chopped onions, the whole spice packet, so that's 130 grams of spices, and about 200 mils of water, and there we have it. There is the meat rendang spice paste. This is about 530 grams of spice paste, which is plenty for about 2.5 kilos of meat, which is about like I said, 2 families worth of meals. So what I'm going to do is just split this in half, and I'm going to freeze it, half of it, in a sandwich bag in the freezer. Then it's just defrost really quickly and for another meal. And then the other half I'm going to use to make this beef shin into the best rendang you've ever had. So this is about 1.2 kilos worth of beef shin. I've asked for it boneless. And I'm just going to cut it up into small little pieces because beef rendang is one of my favourite types of rendang. But with the spice mix, you can do lamb, pork, chicken, all very delicious. Now the spice mix is a blend of cinnamon, cumin, coriander, fenugreek, and a couple of other secret spices. You'll have to buy the spice mix to know what exactly is in it. So I'm just going to cut these up into little cube pieces. Now I love using beef shin because it's got this lovely layer of almost, I wouldn't say fat, but it's got this sinew that will break down really well. It's perfect for braising, which is what we're looking for when doing the rendang. You could also use brisket if you can't find boneless beef shin, any diced braising beef, or even ox cheek, which is one of my personal favourites to use for this dish. Okay, so that's all diced up, ready to go. Let's do this. Okay, so now that we've made our meat rendang spice paste, I'm going to show you how to make the meat rendang. So I've diced up the boneless shin, and a little KAIZEN house trick. I love the coconut flavour particularly when I do a beef rendang dish. So I've toasted off some desiccated coconut, and what we're going to do is just blend it, or you could put it into a pestle and mortar until it gets almost like pasty. Now this will give you a really rich coconutty flavour, which I absolutely adore with a beef rendang. So I'm just going to grab my tiny little blender again, put this coconut in there. This is still a little warm, so that will help get the oils out of the coconut really nicely. And I'm just going to give it a few whizzes. Got a little bit sticky there, so in a pestle and mortar is best. That'll do fine. Right, grab a casserole dish or deep pan dish and pop this on. Good dash of oil, any plain oil will do. And what we're going to do is fry off the spice mix So like I said, I'm not using all of this. I'm gonna save half of this for freezing later on. And just on the medium to low heat, we're just gonna fry this spice mix off. Keep it stirring. You don't want it to catch on the bottom. And that smells insanely good. So I'm just gonna fry this for about 5 minutes. Now keep it stirring because you don't want to catch it, otherwise you'll just have this weird, nasty, astringent taste throughout the whole of your dish. Because I'm using beef shin, I'm putting it into this deep casserole dish and then I'm going to slow braise it in the oven, preheated at 140 degrees centigrade for about 4 to 5 hours. I know it sounds like a long time, but because we're using beef shin, you want to cook it for really low and slow just to get it really super tender. And the spice pack mix, like I say, you could use this with chicken, lamb, or pork, which doesn't have as long cooking times as the beef shin. So if you're switching the beef to do chicken, I would simply cook it until the chicken's tender, which can be only about 25 minutes. So you won't even need to put it in the oven. You can just keep it on a low heat on the stove. Keep checking it every now and then. And the best trick is to leave the lid off, and that way all the liquid will evaporate and get you a real rich gravy, which I think is perfect of a good rendang. Okay, I've been frying this off for now for about 5 minutes. Smells incredible in here. What I'm going to do now is put in the beef into the mix. Give it a really good stir so that every single piece of beef is covered. Right, now we've got every bit of the shin there covered. You're just going to cook it a little bit slow so some of that meat starts to brown, because there's quite a lot in there. It'll take a little while. The main thing is that every piece of that beef there is covered in that gorgeous rendang paste. Next up, we're going to add the KAIZEN House sort of secret, the coconut paste. And this will give it a super rich coconut flavour. I'm just going to stir that in. Right, so each and every piece of this beef is coated in that lovely spice paste, the Mei Mei spice paste, and the coconut. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to add in some stock. On the recipe it says 600 ml of water, but I'm using some beef stock here. Just want that lovely rich beef flavour. You can use homemade, but I've been super lazy. I'm just using stuff from the freezer. Ideally defrost it before you use it. And just give it all a really good mix. I'm in a little bit of a rush because I've got to get Riley into bed, so. Now this is totally optional, but I had some kaffir lime leaves in the freezer. If you can't get hold of fresh, these are usually find in the frozen section in any Oriental supermarket. I just finally chiffonade them up. Or if you're not a huge fan, you can put them in whole and pick them out at the end. Just make sure you remove the whole leaves because it's not very nice to get a big bite of kaffir lime leaves. So I'm just going to give that a good stir in. Again, totally optional. Because I'm going to slow braise this beef, I'm going to add the coconut milk in now. So again, I'm doing a half recipe, so just half a tin of the coconut cream and give that a good stir. Right, I'm bringing this up to a boil and then let it simmer for about 25 minutes, and then I'm going to put it in the oven, like I said, at 140 degrees centigrade, quite low, for about 4 or 5 hours, checking it halfway, giving it a little stir. Just make sure you've got a heavy lid on the top, or cover it with foil if you don't have a lid. You want to make sure you've got a nice tight lid over the top because you don't want too much of that liquid to evaporate too quickly, otherwise you end up with very dry rendang very, very quickly. And for the last half an hour or so, you'll take off the lid and just let it cook out and evaporate some of that liquid. Or alternatively, if you're going to be using chicken or any other meats with this dish and you're not slow braising it, just bring it up to a boil like this, cook out the meat to the desired tenderness. So if it's chicken, it could be like 25 minutes, and then just leave the lid off, and then all that liquid will evaporate and you'll get that super rich gravy. Right, let's pop this in the oven. This rendang has been in the oven for about 5 hours. We stirred it about halfway, so it's super rich. All that lovely sinew is all broken down. Give it a good stir, and then we took the lid off for the last 25 minutes to half an hour just to let a little bit more, just let it dry out, because of course a rendang is a dry curry, not a wet one. So my best way of serving the beef rendang is with some freshly steamed jasmine rice, pure and simple. And all of this was created using the Mei Mei spice mix. Really, really simple. yeah, so tag us in your creations with the hashtag Mei Mei, and I'm gonna tuck into this right away. See you next time.